Today on The Complete Advisor, we're talking about switching broker-dealers. Here's two advisors that are in the middle of it. Consolidation changed their firm. Service declined, flexibility shrank. And they realized if they want to grow, they can't stay. Now, if you're registered and you're questioning your broker-dealer fit, this conversation matters. Let's get into it. So at the time of recording, these two gentlemen are in just about the middle of making a switch from one broker-dealer to the other. And so we're going to get the opportunity to talk to them about the whys. What did you look at? The decision that went through it, looking ahead, the impact on clients. So you are in the process, you made the decision of switching broker-dealer affiliations. Let's just jump in here. I want to explore those key factors that made you make that change. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Started a practice, went on my own. I'd worked for another firm for several years and got to the point where I could be me without the firm.
Yep.
And decided for that growth aspect, I could leave there on day one with 0 clients and I would probably be better off, and I certainly was.
So that was way back in
that was way back, correct.
And when we were talking offline, interesting, we were having an interesting conversation about the realty game. And I love the fact that you had been a realtor, right?
I had for many years.
And so many parallels as far as we've done a couple episodes with realtors on referrals, and I've got one that that's going to be coming out on client events and staying in touch because it's such a long game. Harrison, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I've been doing this for about 10 years. Went right into it. Nothing really before that. Started when I was in college in an internship with one of the big shops.
Yep.
Slowly realized, what that means and how being a little bit more independent can be beneficial for all parties involved. And landed with Brad 2.5, 3 years ago.
Nice.
And it's been going great ever since. Real good partnership going that we can use going forward.
So Brad, let's talk about what made you decide to switch? What led to your current transition?
Sure. I was with a firm, I don't know, maybe a medium-sized firm of a few thousand reps, and we got folded into a larger firm. Really didn't have a say in it.
Yep.
And what happened is, in our opinion, when you get bigger, you get more conservative. And so the way we were doing business changed dramatically in how our back office connected with us, how they approved our business, and we started getting more and more pushback. And it was kind of going the opposite direction of how we wanted to grow the business. And I had recently just looked at it and said, I want to double my business over the next 5 or 6 years. Is this firm the right fit? And the answer after the transition was no. And so we needed to start looking.
They're getting more conservative. That is a great point, because as firms get bigger, it's almost like they become more and more vanilla and more corporate.
It really is. And I'm sure, like every advisor that's probably watching this podcast, we get hit up with people looking to see if we were interested in moving our business on a weekly, if not monthly basis. And so what happened is, when we realized the fit wasn't there, I started answering those phone calls and maybe responding a little bit. And we started talking to wholesalers. And wholesalers really have a good beat on the broker-dealers and how they operated. And we didn't want to change how we were doing business prior to being folded in. We just wanted to expand that model. And so we started getting some select names of groups to start interviewing. And that was kind of the basis of our search to start with.
So Harrison, when this is going on, when you start to catch and win that Brad's not as enamored with what's going on with the broker-dealer, what were you thinking? Because you do have a different perspective, and you could have gone your own way here.
Yeah, and I deal with a little bit more of the back office than Brad does. So when he saw the change of them getting a little bit more vanilla, as he says it, I'm dealing with the service really dropping off. Suddenly they're so much bigger, service is getting a lot worse. So I just listen to what is in these different broker-dealer calls and see how it would affect me. And like you said, I could have went somewhere, but I like Brad, I had a good fit in our office.
Yeah.
So as long as we were choosing the right group, I was happy with it.
When these groups with the consolidation that was going on at the firm you were at, where I had been in that transition, there was all these software. One firm, we were using one set of software, this other firm was using another, and then all of a sudden there's this third. So there was all these different legacy systems. Were you running into that as the consolidation was happening?
Yeah, a little bit. We had some that were brand new, so a really good time for us to switch over actually, because we were both going to have to learn this new one anyways, so might as well learn a new companies.
No, I think with the platforms, we were seeing a wide spectrum. Some of the larger groups that we considered going with, or at least interviewing, a lot of them have proprietary software and programs and stuff, and we weren't really terribly interested in that, but we would hear them out. Some of the software was similar, but we didn't really make our decision based on the software itself. We wanted the capabilities. We wanted to make sure we had the DocuSign, the eSign capability for clients. That was very important. But it was just the capabilities to make sure we said, this is what we want to do. Can you do it? And then they would explain to us, how they could or couldn't do it. So
did you guys put together? So at what point did you decide at what point did you decide okay, we are gonna look seriously? I'm not entertaining these calls because I'm kind of interested,
Sure.
but now I'm like, okay.
I think it was probably 6 months prior to making the decision. I think we did really do a lot of due diligence. I was very open with Harrison because I made it clear that I think he's the future for a lot of the newer clients that we're bringing on.
Oh, there you go. Look at that.
And I need a legacy plan in place, and so I wanted to make sure that he was on board with it. I was kind of driving, who we were talking to, but he was taking some calls, and he was when he'd go out to some of these different events, he would talk to other advisors and say, "So tell me the good and the bad about your BD." And he'd come back and kind of report to me.
So did you guys put together a list of have and have nots? Like, we have to have this or this. These are the things that maybe a question list or a conversation list that when you were to have with these new broker dealers you were vetting?
I think more or less we did. Yeah. I don't know if we had an official list, but there were certain things that were important to us that the new firm had. And what we were finding is we were at a big firm, and of course there's always going to be somebody bigger and offering a bigger check, and that wasn't really the direction that we felt was right for the growth of the company. And so we really started entertaining some smaller firms, but then to your point earlier, there's a risk of being bought out. So then you have that discussion. Mm-hmm. Where do you plan to be in the next 3 to 5 years? And is there a chance you get bought out? Because I might as well take the big check from the big firm if that's going to happen now.
Yeah, that's the rub. There's trade-off with everything. I always tell my daughters there's no such thing as a free lunch. There's always whatever you're getting. There's always some things along it. I want to back up just a second. Was there a straw that broke the camel's back with your old firm? Where there just something happened, a new directive, a new policy, where you're just like, damn it, that's it, that's the one, you got me.
Well, I think it came down to the IMO discussion, as we felt like a lot of our growth was going to come from that annuity side of our business, and we wanted a firm that was creative and could do some things. And these bigger firms want to push you down to either their program, which everybody's using, or they'll give you a short list of 3 or 4 different companies that you can use. And I'm to that point in my career where I just don't like being told what to do. So.
I hear that. Harrison, you nodded there pretty good. What was there one?
There was a camel that broke the back, at least for Brad. That new group we were a part of, it got more strict, and all of a sudden, one of the business pieces we wanted to do, they just said no. And Brad had already talked to a few groups, and so had I, and it was like, okay, now we're for sure going. We don't know where yet, but we are for sure going.
That's the one.
Then we kind of narrowed it down to the last few groups to switch to.
So here's what we're going to do. This was part 1 of this conversation. Part 2, we're going to jump into the other side, the logistics, the things that they needed to do. You do not want to miss it.